The mind is the foundation of everything you experience in life. What you think shapes how you feel, the choices you make, and the person you become. This isn't just an idea, it's a powerful truth that can change the way you live every day. When you understand how to train your thoughts, manage your emotions, and take control of your mindset, you unlock the ability to improve your life, step by step. This journey isn't about quick fixes or empty promises. It's about learning simple but powerful habits that anyone can use, no matter where they're starting from. You'll discover how small changes in your thinking lead to big shifts in confidence, resilience, and peace. You'll see why focusing on what you can control, protecting your mental space, and facing challenges head-on are essential parts of growth. This is an invitation to take real action, to stop letting doubt, distraction, and fear hold you back, to build a stronger, calmer, and more determined version of yourself. What you think really does become who you are, and that means every day offers a new chance to shape your future with your own hands. Stick with this, and you'll find practical tools that fit your life, along with honest encouragement to keep moving forward. The change you want begins with the choices you make inside your mind. This is your chance to take control, grow stronger, and create the life you deserve. Chapter 1. Train your mind daily to choose better thoughts. Your thoughts are the foundation of your life. Every decision, every reaction, every goal, and every emotion begins in the mind. Before any action takes form, it is born from thought. And the quality of your life depends on the quality of those thoughts. That is not just philosophy, it is reality. Your life today is a reflection of the thoughts you have allowed to grow in your mind. If you want to change your life, you must first train your mind to think better. And that requires a daily practice. Not once in a while, not only when you're feeling inspired, but every single day. Most people never learn how to manage their mind. They live in reaction. A thought appears, and they believe it. A worry surfaces, and they feed it. A doubt whispers, and they surrender to it. This is not thinking. This is passive living. Real thinking requires awareness. It demands that you become conscious of what your mind is doing, and once you are aware, you must direct it. You must choose your thoughts the way a builder chooses each brick, carefully, purposefully, because the structure you build is your future. It begins in the morning. The moment you open your eyes, your mind is already active. Thoughts rush in. Some are neutral, some are helpful, some are destructive. Without training, the mind grabs whatever it wants. It may reach for regret. It may pull in fear. It may replay past failures or imagine worst-case scenarios. And if you don't interrupt this process, you start your day behind. You carry the weight of old thoughts into new hours. And soon your mood, your energy, and your actions follow those thoughts. So the first step is awareness. Start paying attention to your thoughts, especially in the first hour of your day. What kind of mental environment are you waking up in? Are you anxious, negative, hopeless, distracted, or are you clear, focused, and calm? You can't change what you're not aware of. Awareness gives you the power to see the patterns that run your mind and break them. The next step is responsibility. You must take full responsibility for the quality of your thinking. It's easy to blame your past, your environment, or other people. It's easy to say your mind is just too noisy, or that you can't control what you think. But that is an excuse, and excuses keep you stuck. You cannot grow if you keep telling yourself that your thoughts are stronger than you. They are not. Thoughts are habits, and habits can be changed. Take control by learning to question your thoughts. Just because a thought appears doesn't mean it's true. Just because your mind tells you something doesn't mean you should believe it. When you think, "I'm not good enough," stop. Ask yourself, where did this thought come from? Is it based on evidence or fear? What would happen if I didn't believe this thought? Most of the time, negative thoughts are old voices from the past, rooted in fear, shame, or comparison. But you are not required to accept them. You can challenge them. You can replace them. That leads to the third step. Substitution. It's not enough to reject a negative thought. You must replace it with a better one. The mind doesn't like empty space. If you remove a limiting belief, but don't replace it with something empowering, the old one will return. So be intentional. Build a library of strong, clear thoughts that reflect who you want to become. When the mind says, "I can't do this," replace it with, "I can grow through this." When it says, "I always mess things up," replace it with, "I learn from every mistake." These are not just positive statements, they are mental training tools. They help you shift the direction of your inner voice. The fourth step is repetition. One good thought will not transform your life. One positive morning will not erase years of mental conditioning. You must repeat the right thoughts again and again, until they become your default mindset. That's how mental training works. Athletes don't practice once and expect to win. Musicians don't rehearse once and expect to perform flawlessly. And you cannot think one good thought and expect your life to change. Consistency is what creates strength. Repeat what's useful. Let go of what's harmful. Keep doing it until your mind begins to serve you instead of sabotage you. This training is not about ignoring reality. It's not about pretending life is perfect or that pain doesn't exist. It's about strengthening your inner world so that no matter what happens outside of you, you remain centered and clear. Life will bring stress. People will disappoint you. Things will not always go your way. But a trained mind doesn't collapse. A trained mind responds with clarity. It chooses the best thought for the moment. It doesn't let emotions decide the future. It doesn't surrender to fear. It chooses wisely, and that choice creates freedom. To practice this, create a daily thought check-in, at least once each day. Pause and ask yourself, what have I been thinking about most today? Have my thoughts been helpful or harmful? What thought do I need to choose right now to stay grounded and focused? This practice takes just a few minutes, but it has powerful effects. It brings you back to center. It reminds you that you are the one in charge, and it gives you the chance to shift your momentum before it leads you in the wrong direction. You can also strengthen your mind by limiting exposure to mental junk. What you consume affects how you think. If you start your day by scrolling through negativity, arguments and distractions, don't be surprised when your thoughts feel scattered and anxious. Protect your mental space. Be selective with what you allow in. Read books that challenge you to grow. Listen to voices that teach strength and character. Surround yourself with ideas that help you think clearly and deeply. Your mind becomes what it feeds on. Another powerful way to train your thoughts is through writing. Take time to write down the thoughts that weigh you down. See them on paper. Name them. Challenge them. Then write the thoughts you want to believe. Write them again and again until they feel real. This is not just journaling. It is self-reprogramming. You are teaching your brain a new way to think, and over time those written words become part of who you are. Your environment also plays a role. If you're surrounded by chaos, noise, or negativity, your thoughts will struggle. Clean your space. Create calm. Design your surroundings to reflect order, peace, and clarity. The mind mirrors its environment. A quiet, intentional space helps support quiet, intentional thinking. Small changes in your physical world can produce big changes in your mental world. One more tool is breath. When your thoughts race or spiral into fear, come back to your breath. Slow it down. Breathe in fully. Exhale fully. This simple act brings you back to the present. It interrupts mental noise. It creates space between thought and reaction. And that space is where your power lives. The ability to pause, to breathe, and to choose again. That is the essence of mental mastery. Over time, as you practice these steps, awareness, responsibility, substitution, repetition, protection, reflection, and breath, you will start to notice a shift. The same challenges that once overwhelmed you won't feel so heavy. The same doubts that once ruled you will lose their power. The same inner critic that used to sabotage your progress will begin to fade. You'll feel more steady, more focused, more in control. And when you slip, and you will, you'll know how to come back. You won't stay stuck in old patterns. You'll catch yourself faster. You'll recover with grace. That is the mark of a trained mind. Not that it never falters, but that it knows how to realign. That is strength. That is wisdom. And that is freedom. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be committed. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to practice showing up for your mind each day. Some days will be easier than others. Some days your thoughts will feel sharp and clear. Other days they'll feel heavy and slow. That's normal, but if you keep training, you will get stronger. Your mind will begin to work with you instead of against you. And that changes everything, because once you know how to think clearly, no one can control you. Once you learn to choose your thoughts, no fear can hold you. Once you train your mind, the rest of your life follows. Better thinking leads to better choices. Better choices lead to better actions. Better actions lead to better results. And it all starts in the mind. You are not your past. You are not your fears. You are not your doubts. You are what you decide to think today. You have the power to direct your focus, to reshape your inner world, and to become someone stronger than you've ever been. But it starts with thought. Not just any thought. Better thoughts, thought by thought. Day by day. So begin now. Don't wait for the perfect mood or the right motivation. Start training your mind today. Choose one thought that empowers you. One belief that moves you forward. Hold it. Repeat it. Act on it. Let it shape your actions, your conversations, your choices. Let it guide you through your day. And tomorrow choose again. This is how transformation begins. Not in big dramatic changes, but in small daily decisions to think better. It is not always easy, but it is always worth it, because when you master your thoughts, you master your life. And that is the real power. That is what makes everything possible. That is what makes you become who you were always meant to be. Chapter 2. Break your limits by challenging your daily routines. Every day you follow a pattern. You wake up at a certain time, move through a sequence of actions, think similar thoughts, and make decisions based on what feels familiar. These routines shape your entire life. They provide structure, predictability, and comfort, but they also create boundaries. The same habits that keep you safe can also keep you small. Without realizing it, you begin to live in a loop, repeating what you know instead of discovering what you're capable of. And that is how limits are built, not by failure, but by routine. Limits are rarely physical. They are mental, emotional, and behavioral. They're built from years of repetition, fear, doubt, and comfort. When you avoid what's difficult, your tolerance for difficulty shrinks. When you never question your schedule, your creativity fades. When you do only what you know, your potential becomes irrelevant. Your limits are not defined by your ability, but by your willingness to challenge what you've accepted as normal. If you want to grow, you must disrupt the cycle. You must challenge the routines that shape your days and, by extension, your future. Change does not begin with massive action. It begins with observation. Look closely at how you move through your day. What do you do first thing in the morning? How do you react to stress? When do you lose focus? Where do you waste energy? Who do you speak to? What do you avoid? What do you repeat? Because it's easy, not because it's meaningful. These answers will show you the silent systems that run your life, and once you see them clearly, you can begin to shift. Growth demands discomfort. It requires that you place yourself in situations that stretch you. That doesn't mean chaos. It doesn't mean constantly starting over or seeking drama. It means doing the one thing today that you normally postpone. It means taking the longer path instead of the shortcut. It means speaking with intention instead of silence when silence feels safer. The discomfort of doing something unfamiliar is not punishment. It's the signal that you are stepping beyond your mental conditioning. Most people resist change because it interrupts the illusion of control. Your routines give you a false sense of stability, but real strength comes from adaptability, the ability to adjust, to respond to new challenges, to navigate unfamiliar territory. These are the traits that lead to mastery, and they are forged in the small decisions you make each day. Start by doing one thing differently. Wake up earlier. Take a cold shower. Walk instead of scroll. Talk to someone you've avoided. Write down your thoughts at the end of the day instead of ignoring them. These may seem small, but they are powerful. Every time you break a piece of routine that no longer serves you, you reclaim energy and attention. Your brain is wired for efficiency. It wants to conserve energy, so it loves repetition. But what's efficient is not always what's effective. Just because something is easy doesn't mean it's right. Just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it helps you grow. If you don't challenge your habits, they will define you. You will confuse comfort with peace and repetition with discipline. But real peace comes from progress, not passivity. And real discipline comes from making new choices, not repeating the old ones without thought. There is a silent confidence that grows when you do the difficult thing, when you wake up and run when you'd rather stay in bed, when you start the conversation that scares you, when you say no to distraction and yes to focus. Every small break from routine is a vote for your future. It's proof that you are not bound by habit, fear, or convenience. You are building a new internal standard, one that says growth matters more than comfort. Routines are not the enemy. They become the enemy when they go unquestioned. Build structure that supports your goals, not systems that protect your fears. Examine everything you do on autopilot. If it doesn't strengthen your body, sharpen your mind, deepen your character, or serve your mission, change it. Replace the useless with the useful. Replace distraction with purpose. Replace the predictable with the purposeful. It's easy to underestimate the power of small changes. You think, it's just 10 minutes earlier, or it's just one uncomfortable conversation, or it's just one skipped indulgence. But that's exactly where transformation begins, in the small, consistent shifts that stack over time. The routines you challenge today become the strength you rely on tomorrow. Each break from the familiar expands your capacity. You realize that fear doesn't control you. Boredom doesn't define you. Repetition doesn't have to rule you. You will feel resistance. That's natural. The brain doesn't like change. It sees anything unfamiliar as a threat. But the presence of resistance means you are on the right path. If your habits are not being tested, you are not growing. Every new routine you build is like carving a new path in your mind. It takes effort at first, but with repetition, it becomes the new normal. And suddenly, what once felt hard becomes who you are. Real change is not about being extreme. It's about being consistent. Anyone can do something difficult once. What matters is doing it again tomorrow, and the day after. That's where the internal shift happens. You begin to respect yourself more. Not because of results, but because of effort. You know you're showing up differently. You know you're no longer a prisoner of your habits. And that quiet pride becomes your fuel. There will be moments when you want to slip back into comfort. You will feel the pull to return to what's easy, what's known. That's when you must remind yourself of who you are becoming. You are not just someone who follows routines. You are someone who shapes them. You are not driven by ease. You are driven by purpose. That identity shift is powerful. It changes how you approach every hour of your day. And once you get used to breaking limits in small ways, you will begin to seek new challenges. You will start to look for edges to push against. You will raise the bar on how you eat, how you move, how you speak, how you think, and others will notice. Not because you talk about it, but because you carry yourself differently. You live with intention. You make decisions with clarity. You no longer drift, you direct. Your future is built in your routines. Not someday, not next year, but now. If you want more from life, do more with your day. That doesn't mean doing more in terms of volume. It means doing what matters more consistently. Eliminate what's unnecessary. Replace it with what's essential. And protect your energy by staying aligned with what challenges and strengthens you. You are capable of more than you've allowed yourself to believe. But you will never discover it by repeating the same day over and over. You must challenge what you do without thinking. You must interrupt the loop. Not with chaos, but with clarity. Not with noise, but with purpose. This is how you evolve. Not all at once, but decision by decision, day by day, step by step, until one day you look around and realize you no longer live inside the limits you once thought were permanent. You broke them, quietly, steadily, relentlessly, and in doing so you built the life that only existed in thought, until you had the courage to act. Chapter 3. Build unshakable confidence through honest self-discipline. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build with every action that shows you who you really are. It does not come from praise, luck, or external validation. It comes from knowing that you can trust yourself to follow through on your word, to stay steady in hard moments, and to act with purpose when no one is watching. The strongest form of confidence is not loud or proud. It is quiet, calm, and grounded in discipline. When your life is built on self-discipline, confidence is not something you search for. It becomes a natural result. Discipline is the daily act of choosing what you know is right over what you feel in the moment. It's doing what needs to be done, even when motivation is gone. It's following through on your own standards because you respect yourself enough not to break your own promises. That kind of discipline builds a deep internal strength. You don't wonder if you're good enough. You know you are doing what is necessary to improve. You don't wait for things to get easier. You get stronger. You don't hide behind excuses. You stand up and take responsibility. Every day that you practice self-discipline, you earn your own respect. And that is the foundation of real confidence. People often confuse confidence with personality or appearance, but it has nothing to do with that. Real confidence comes from self-control. When you can manage your emotions, follow your values, and act with purpose, you no longer depend on circumstances to feel strong. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You become someone who is not easily shaken by setbacks or opinions. This kind of confidence cannot be given to you. It must be earned through action, struggle, and consistency. You must show yourself that you can live with intention even when it's hard. Start small. Choose one habit that builds your discipline. Wake up at a set time and don't delay. Make your bed. Plan your day the night before. Finish what you start. Speak only what you mean. Move your body even when it's uncomfortable. These actions may seem simple, but they are not easy. They challenge your impulses. They stretch your patience. They test your honesty. And that is exactly why they matter. Every time you follow through on a difficult task, you remind yourself that you are not ruled by emotion or weakness. You prove that you are capable of self-mastery, and that quiet proof builds belief. Self-discipline is not punishment. It is an act of respect. It is how you honor your goals, protect your time, and take ownership of your future. It does not mean being harsh or rigid. It means being honest. Honest about what you need to do. Honest about what you've been avoiding. Honest about the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Without that honesty, confidence is empty. It becomes a performance instead of a reflection of your true character. Every time you avoid the hard choice, you chip away at your own belief. You begin to doubt your ability to follow through. You make excuses to protect your comfort, but deep down you feel the weight of compromise. That silent regret weakens your confidence, not because of failure, but because of the habit of letting yourself off the hook. Confidence is not built by avoiding mistakes. It's built by facing them and choosing to act anyway. It is built by keeping your word to yourself, especially when it would be easier not to. You do not need to wait for perfect conditions. You don't need motivation to start. You don't need to feel ready. You simply need to act. Decide what matters. Set a clear standard. Follow through without negotiation. That is the formula for self-discipline. That is how you grow stronger in character. And as your discipline sharpens, so does your confidence. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, think differently. You are no longer trying to prove yourself to others. You are proving to yourself, through action, that you are capable of progress and purpose. There will be days when discipline feels like a burden, when quitting looks easier, when comfort calls you back. On those days, remind yourself that comfort is temporary, but regret lasts. Choosing discipline today protects you from disappointment tomorrow. It gives you peace of mind that you did what you could. Even when progress is slow, the act of showing up builds momentum. The more you keep your standards, the less you tolerate distraction, laziness, or self-pity. You become someone who acts from strength instead of fear. Confidence built on discipline is durable. It doesn't fall apart when you fail or face criticism, because it is not built on perfection. It is built on persistence. It is the result of many days where you chose what was hard, quiet, and unnoticed. It is the result of doing what needed to be done, not for applause, but because you decided that your future mattered more than your mood. This kind of confidence is rare. It is not loud. It does not seek approval. It simply moves with clarity and strength. To become confident, practice being uncomfortable on purpose. Challenge yourself to complete tasks without shortcuts. Train your mind to finish what it starts. Learn to sit with boredom without reaching for distraction. Delay gratification when the easy option tempts you. Speak the truth when lying would be more convenient. These small decisions build the kind of character that no praise or achievement can replace. You become someone who can be trusted, especially by yourself. Discipline is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about showing up, even after you fall. Missing one day doesn't break your confidence. Quitting does. One moment of weakness doesn't undo your growth. Giving in consistently does. That's why discipline must be honest. It must be about improvement, not punishment. It must be about alignment, not pressure. You are not chasing an image. You are building an identity of strength, resilience, and self-respect. When you act with discipline, you stop needing external reminders to stay motivated. You become your own motivation. You act because you said you would. You move forward because you value growth. That kind of integrity removes doubt. It creates a powerful calm in the middle of pressure. You don't need to fake strength. When you live with discipline, you know you've earned your place. You've done the work. You've walked through discomfort and chosen to stay on course. Confidence is not found in a moment of success. It is found in the habits that get you there. It is found in the late nights, the early mornings, the quiet decisions, and the private victories. It is found in saying yes to what matters and no to what doesn't. It is found in rising after failure, without bitterness or blame. It is built, day by day, choice by choice, through the slow and steady work of self-discipline. You are not limited by your past. You are not stuck with your current habits. You are not waiting for permission. You have the ability to train yourself, to sharpen your focus, to increase your strength. But it starts with action, not dramatic but consistent, not forced but honest. Build a life where discipline is normal and confidence will follow. Not because you chased it, but because you earned it. Not through shortcuts, but through truth. That kind of confidence can't be shaken, because it's built on something real. Chapter 4. Rewire your beliefs by replacing doubt with truth. Every belief you hold shapes the way you think, speak, and act. It defines what you think is possible, how you handle pressure, and what you expect from yourself. Many people live inside a framework they never chose, accepting limits passed down from others or formed in moments of fear. Beliefs built on doubt are quiet but powerful. They tell you what you can't do, what you should avoid, and why you're not ready. Over time, they become invisible rules that control your choices. But a belief is not a fact. It is only a story you've accepted as truth. And that means you can change it. You cannot grow beyond the beliefs you refuse to question. To rewire your beliefs, you must first look directly at them. Start by observing your thoughts when you face challenges. Notice the phrases that come up automatically. If your mind says, "I'm not smart enough," "I always fail," or "this is just who I am," pause. Those are not harmless thoughts. They are built from doubt, repetition, and fear. And the longer they go unchallenged, the deeper they dig into your identity. If you want to live with strength, you must confront those beliefs and replace them with truth. The truth is that your mind is always changing. You are not locked into your past experiences or previous choices. Your brain is built to adapt and grow, but only when you give it the right input. Every time you act with courage, every time you face discomfort, every time you choose discipline over ease, you begin to rewrite the code your mind runs on. You create new mental pathways that support strength, not fear. But this process requires more than surface-level positivity. It demands honesty, repetition, and conscious action. Write down the beliefs that have held you back. Be specific. Don't sugarcoat them. Whether you believe you're too late to start, not talented enough, or doomed to repeat your mistakes. Bring those thoughts into the light. Doubt thrives in silence. But once you name it, you take away some of its power. Then beside each limiting belief, write one truth that counters it. Not fantasy, but reality. If you think you're too old to change, remind yourself that growth is possible at every age. If you believe failure defines you, remind yourself that failure is part of the process. This is not a game of tricks. It is a practice of truth. The mind learns by repetition. That means you can't just write the truth once and expect change. You must repeat it until it becomes familiar. You must practice thinking in alignment with your goals. Each time the old doubt shows up, replace it immediately. Say the new belief out loud. Feel the words. Picture what it means. Take one small action to prove it true. Over time, the old beliefs will lose their grip, and the new ones will take root. This process is not overnight, but it is permanent when practiced daily. Change happens when you stop feeding the stories that make you feel powerless. Every belief that limits you is based on a past experience that felt real but was not final. Just because you failed once does not mean you will always fail. Just because someone doubted you does not mean they were right. Just because you've made mistakes does not mean you are broken. Doubt creates distortion. It makes you focus on what went wrong and forget what went right. But the truth is balanced. It sees the whole picture. It acknowledges weakness without letting it define your worth. You are not meant to live under the weight of other people's opinions or your own untested fears. You are meant to live with clarity, knowing who you are and what you stand for. That clarity comes from truth, not emotion. Emotions change, but truth stays steady. Doubt says you're not ready. Truth says you're learning. Doubt says you'll embarrass yourself. Truth says growth is never perfect. Doubt says you're stuck. Truth says you always have a choice. When you train your mind to speak truth, your actions begin to align with strength, not fear. The strongest people are not those who feel no doubt. They are the ones who hear it and move forward anyway. They know that fear is a signal, not a stop sign. They understand that a belief is only useful if it helps them grow. If it does not serve that purpose, they replace it. They don't argue with doubt. They outgrow it. They do this through effort, consistency, and truth. Not once, but every day. The more they practice this, the more natural it becomes. It stops being a battle. It becomes who they are. You are not the voice of your doubt. You are the one who hears it and decides what to do with it. You have the ability to pause, to think, and to choose a better belief. That power is always available. But you must use it. No one can give it to you. You must take responsibility for what you allow your mind to believe. Every time you let doubt lead, you give it strength. Every time you replace it with truth, you take that strength back. Your environment matters. Surround yourself with people who speak truth and support growth. Avoid those who constantly reinforce fear, scarcity, or hopelessness. What you hear often, you start to believe. Protect your mental space as you would your physical space. Be intentional about what you read, what you watch, and what you repeat. The more truth you consume, the stronger your mind becomes. And as your beliefs evolve, so does your life. Your potential is not something you need to find. It's something you uncover by clearing away the layers of doubt you've accepted. The truth is not hidden. It's waiting for you to look past the noise. It is found in every moment you act with courage, in every choice that honors growth, and in every belief that supports your higher self. Truth is not always comfortable, but it is always freeing. It gives you strength that doesn't depend on outside approval. It gives you clarity that doesn't disappear under pressure. Belief shapes identity, and identity shapes action. If you want to change your life, start with what you believe about yourself. Start by refusing to repeat the old scripts that made you feel small. Replace them with language that respects your effort, your resilience, and your ability to improve. Speak that truth until it becomes your default. Practice it until it shapes your tone, your habits, your choices. Don't wait for permission to believe something better. Give it to yourself. What you think consistently becomes what you expect. What you expect becomes how you act. And how you act becomes who you are. That's why rewiring your beliefs is not optional. It is essential. You cannot build a strong life on a weak mindset. You must decide what kind of foundation you want to stand on. Doubt will always be there, but it does not have to be in control. The truth is stronger, but it must be chosen, repeated, and lived. One thought at a time, one belief at a time, one truth at a time. Chapter 5. Focus your energy on what you can control. There's a quiet kind of strength that begins to grow the moment you stop fighting everything you can't control. Most people waste so much of their energy reacting to what's outside of them, what others think, what someone said, what went wrong yesterday, what might go wrong tomorrow. They carry around the weight of the world on their shoulders, not realizing that most of it doesn't belong to them. Peace begins the second you decide to give your full attention only to what is yours to change. The world will always be unpredictable. Plans fall through, people disappoint. Circumstances shift without warning, but your power has never lived in those things. It lives in how you respond. It lives in where you place your focus when things don't go your way. Trying to control the uncontrollable only leads to frustration. Worrying about the opinions of people who don't walk your path is a silent thief of your time and energy. Focusing on problems you can't solve today drains the strength you need to solve what you can. You reclaim your life when you stop handing your peace to things beyond your influence. When you focus on what you can control, your words, your choices, your attitude, your effort, you start to experience a kind of clarity that no chaos can take from you. You begin to see that peace isn't something you find, it's something you create by refusing to be pulled in every direction by things that do not serve you. Every time you return your focus to what's within your reach, you grow stronger. Not because the world gets easier, but because you become more centered in yourself. You don't control how others treat you, but you control what you tolerate. You don't control what the day brings, but you control what you bring to the day. You don't control how fast life moves, but you control the pace you choose to walk in. When you take ownership of your inner world, you stop being a victim of your outer one. That shift changes everything. The energy you spend worrying about things you can't influence is energy you're stealing from what you could be building. Every thought you give to someone else's judgment is a thought you didn't give to your own progress. Every minute you spend replaying the past is a minute you didn't use to create a better future. When your focus is scattered, your strength is weakened. But when your focus is aligned with what's within your control, you become sharper, calmer, and more effective in every area of life. Your time is a form of energy. Your attention is currency. If you don't guard it, it will be spent on things that take from you but give nothing in return. It's easy to get caught up in the noise, news headlines, gossip, distractions, regrets. But none of those things will improve your life. What improves your life is being intentional with your focus. You gain power the moment you stop chasing control and start mastering discipline. Discipline is what protects your energy from being wasted. It gives you a filter to decide what's worth your time and what's not. It helps you turn away from arguments that go nowhere, from fears that are not real, from stories that keep you stuck. It teaches you to bring your attention back to the moment, to the choice you have right now. And in that space, you can always make progress. No matter how small, progress made with intention builds momentum that no amount of external chaos can break. You are responsible for what you feed your mind. If you constantly focus on what's missing, you will live in lack. If you focus on what's wrong, you will miss what's working. If you focus on what others are doing, you will forget who you are. But when you focus on your next step, your habits, your growth, your values, your energy begins to align with progress. And in that alignment, you'll find strength you didn't know you had. There's no shortcut to a focused mind. It comes from practice. Every time you catch yourself drifting into what you can't change and gently return your thoughts to what you can, you build mental discipline. It's not about ignoring the outside world. It's about not letting it own you. It's about keeping your internal compass steady, even when everything else feels uncertain. That is where real peace lives, not in a perfect life, but in a focused one. People spend years waiting for everything to calm down so they can finally feel peace. But life rarely offers that. It offers noise, distraction, unpredictability. Waiting for silence before you focus is like waiting for the wind to stop before you walk. You must move anyway. You must choose what matters despite the noise. You must protect your attention like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. Every time you wake up, you have a choice. You can place your attention on what's out of reach, or you can bring it back to what's in front of you. Your breath, your actions, your decisions, these are the things that shape your future. These are the things that define your character. These are the things you can control. The rest may swirl around you, but it doesn't have to live inside you. Let go of the need to control people. Let go of the need to be understood by everyone. Let go of the need for things to go exactly as planned. Those needs create unnecessary stress. The truth is, you can handle far more than you think, as long as you stay focused on what's yours to carry. When you let go of what you can't change, your hands are finally free to build what you can. Nothing clears the mind faster than simplifying your focus. Not everything requires your attention. Not every problem needs your involvement. You don't have to be everything to everyone. You just have to be consistent in what you decide matters most. From that place, your energy becomes stronger, your direction becomes clearer, and your results become more meaningful. No one else is responsible for where your energy goes. You are. And every time you choose to focus it wisely, you take back control of your life. You may not be able to predict the future, but you can shape it through your actions, through your habits, and through the decisions you make with full awareness of what is and isn't within your reach. There's peace in accepting what you can't control. There's power in focusing on what you can. Every day offers you the opportunity to choose where your energy flows. Choose wisely. Choose intentionally. And most of all, choose to stay grounded in what you can influence, because that's where real growth begins. Chapter 6. Strengthen your mindset through consistent daily reflection. Life moves quickly, and if you're not careful, you can live day after day without ever truly seeing yourself. You can get caught in motion, working, reacting, moving through responsibilities, while your mind drifts further from clarity. Time passes, but awareness does not automatically grow with it. That's why daily reflection isn't a luxury. It's a requirement if you want to build strength in your mindset and keep your inner world sharp, grounded, and aligned. Every single day is offering you lessons. Some are hidden in the moments that frustrate you. Others show up in the quiet times when you're left alone with your thoughts. But the lessons only become visible when you stop and look. Reflection is how you pause long enough to ask, what did I learn from today? It's not about judgment or overanalyzing. It's about being honest. It's about facing the truth of who you were in your choices and deciding if that's who you want to keep being. Without reflection, your habits remain unconscious. You keep repeating patterns without realizing it. You respond the same way in familiar situations because you've never stopped to question the script running in your mind. You continue to think the same thoughts, hold the same assumptions, make the same excuses, not because you're incapable of change, but because you haven't made space to evaluate them. But when you choose to reflect daily, something powerful starts to happen. You begin to catch yourself sooner. You start to notice the difference between what helps you and what hurts you. You begin to take responsibility not just for your actions, but for your thoughts before they become actions. And that's where real growth starts, not in the results, but in the quiet space where you become more aware of the direction you're heading and choose to course correct before the damage is done. Consistent reflection builds resilience. It trains your mind to look inward instead of reacting outward. The world around you will always change, but the more time you spend examining your responses, the more grounded you become in your principles. You don't get pulled into every emotional current. You begin to understand your triggers, your tendencies, your blind spots. That awareness doesn't make you perfect, but it gives you power. It gives you the ability to respond with intention rather than impulse. Reflection doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need hours or a perfect journal. What matters is the habit. Take 10 minutes at the end of your day. Sit in silence or write. Ask yourself real questions. Did I stay true to my values today? Where did I react out of fear instead of strength? What did I avoid that I should have faced? What did I do today that made me proud? Who was I? And who do I want to be tomorrow? These are not small questions. They demand honesty. And sometimes that honesty is uncomfortable. You'll see the ways you held yourself back. You'll see the times you let your emotions control you. But you'll also see the victories you overlooked. The strength you showed in quiet moments. The progress you made that no one else saw. Reflection reminds you that even on your hardest days, you are still learning, still growing, still shaping yourself into someone stronger. A strong mindset isn't built by accident. It's built through awareness and choice. Daily reflection gives you both. It teaches you to observe without reacting, to notice your internal climate and adjust it before it affects your external life. It's easy to blame others or circumstances or the past, but reflection brings the focus back to you, not in a way that burdens, but in a way that empowers. Because once you understand your patterns, you can break them. Once you see your tendencies, you can evolve them. Once you know where you stand, you can choose a new direction. You begin to realize that every day is a blueprint for the next. What you do today becomes the habit of tomorrow, and those habits become the foundation of your character. If you want to be mentally strong, you must be mentally present. You must be willing to look at your life with clear eyes, not to shame yourself, but to sharpen yourself. There is no shortcut to strength of mind. It's built in the quiet moments when no one's watching, when you choose to ask hard questions instead of escaping into distraction, when you choose to evaluate instead of justify, when you choose truth over comfort. Those moments are where strength is forged. Most people avoid reflection because it requires stillness. And in that stillness, you hear things you've been trying to ignore. But the discomfort is temporary. The clarity that follows is lasting. And once you taste that clarity, once you feel the power of understanding yourself on a deeper level, you won't want to live any other way. This is not about perfection. You will still make mistakes. You will still fall into old patterns at times. But with daily reflection, you'll catch yourself quicker. You'll bounce back faster. You'll walk through life with more purpose and less confusion, because you won't be living unconsciously. You'll be making decisions with your eyes open. You'll stop looking outside of yourself for validation, because your self-worth will no longer depend on what others see. It will come from the quiet confidence that you are doing the inner work every day, that you are meeting yourself honestly, that you are not hiding from your own truth. And that kind of confidence cannot be shaken. This practice will not give you control over life, but it will give you control over how you live it. And that is enough. That is where peace comes from. Not from having all the answers, but from knowing you're facing the right questions. Questions that challenge you. Questions that guide you. Questions that reveal the next step. Every evening becomes an opportunity, not to relive the day, but to extract wisdom from it, to gather insights, to recalibrate, and each morning becomes a new beginning, built on the lessons of yesterday. This is how you evolve, not by hoping for better days, but by learning from each one, no matter how difficult. There is no external force stronger than a person who reflects daily, because that person is not controlled by fear, or impulse, or pride. That person is guided by truth, disciplined by awareness, and driven by a vision greater than comfort. And that is a life worth building, one choice, one reflection, one honest moment at a time. Chapter 7. Protect your peace by removing toxic distractions. Peace doesn't happen by accident. It is something you must protect, guard, and fight for every day. In a world that constantly demands your attention, throws noise into your thoughts, and tempts you with easy escapes, your peace becomes one of your most valuable possessions. But most people only realize that after they've lost it, after they've said yes to too much, after they've allowed the wrong people too close, after they've let the world write their priorities for them. To truly protect your peace, you must learn how to remove what drains it, and that often means confronting the distractions you've grown used to tolerating. Toxic distractions come in many forms. Some are external, people who thrive on chaos, environments that overwhelm your senses, constant notifications that shatter your focus. Others are internal, habits of overthinking, self-doubt that hijacks your energy, emotional reactions that spiral into wasted hours. You can't always control what appears in your life, but you can control what you allow to stay, and the longer you keep tolerating what silently drains you, the further you drift from the calm and clarity you need to move forward with strength. One of the most common forms of toxic distraction is people who feed on negativity. These are individuals who bring drama to every conversation, who view life through a lens of blame, who pull you into their emotional storms and leave you feeling exhausted after every interaction. Sometimes they mask their toxicity behind humor or concern. Sometimes they manipulate with guilt or passive aggression. The method doesn't matter. What matters is the effect. If someone's presence consistently leaves you anxious, discouraged, or confused about your worth, that's not love, it's noise. And that noise will slowly chip away at your clarity until you forget what peace even feels like. Protecting your peace means making choices that seem harsh at first, but bring you freedom in the long run. It means setting boundaries that feel uncomfortable but necessary. It means learning to say no without explaining yourself. It means recognizing that not every connection is meant to be maintained, especially if it costs you your mental health. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because they've known you a long time or because they expect it. Loyalty is not submission. Kindness is not self-sacrifice. You can be a good person and still remove people who disrupt your peace. Another powerful but often overlooked distraction is digital noise. It may not seem toxic at first because it's so normalized, scrolling endlessly, jumping from app to app, reacting to every ping and alert. But the cost is massive. You lose hours without meaning. You lose focus without realizing. You wake up each day, and instead of owning your mind, you rent it out to headlines, opinions, and meaningless content. That erosion happens slowly until you can no longer be still without reaching for a screen. If you want to reclaim your peace, start by reclaiming your time. Turn off notifications, limit your exposure, use technology as a tool, not a master. Peace requires presence, and presence requires intention. Emotional reactivity is another subtle thief of peace. When you let your emotions run unchecked, every small challenge feels like a crisis. Every disagreement becomes personal. Every delay becomes a disaster. This constant internal reaction burns energy and creates mental clutter. But when you begin to slow down your responses, when you stop fueling every irritation with attention, you begin to see the difference between what matters and what doesn't. Not everything needs your reaction. Not every situation needs your involvement. Sometimes the most powerful response is restraint. Your peace is also threatened by self-created distractions, overcommitment, perfectionism, unrealistic expectations. You distract yourself from peace by believing you must do it all, fix everything, and prove your worth through performance. You get caught in the loop of always striving but never arriving. In truth, your value isn't tied to how busy you are. It's tied to how deeply you live, how grounded you feel, and how clearly you think. Slowing down is not laziness. It's clarity. It's choosing depth over speed, quality over quantity, meaning over motion. One of the hardest things to admit is that many of the distractions stealing your peace are ones you allow. No one can overwhelm your schedule unless you say yes too often. No one can keep crossing your boundaries unless you leave them open. No thought can control you unless you give it room to grow. This isn't about blame, it's about responsibility. Because if you created the space for distraction, you also have the power to take that space back. A peaceful life is not a perfect life. It's not one without problems or pressure. It's one where your mind is not constantly at war with itself, where your thoughts are aligned with your values, where your time is shaped by purpose, not impulse. And that kind of life doesn't just happen. It must be built. One decision at a time, one boundary at a time, one moment of silence at a time. You can't change everything in one day, but you can begin with one small shift. Identify the one thing today that is constantly interrupting your peace and remove it, reduce it, or put a boundary around it. Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a habit, maybe it's a mindset. Whatever it is, let today be the day you stop tolerating what's been slowly draining you. Not because it's easy, but because peace is worth the effort. When you start removing toxic distractions, you begin to feel the space that's been buried under noise. You begin to hear your own thoughts again. You begin to move through your day with more clarity and less chaos. You stop living in reaction and start living by design. You stop chasing validation and start valuing alignment. And from that alignment, everything changes. Your focus, your relationships, your decisions, your future. Peace is not passive. It is an act of courage to choose stillness in a noisy world, to walk away when it's easier to stay, to disconnect when others remain plugged in, to prioritize your mental clarity over temporary comfort. But once you've experienced the strength that comes from inner calm, you'll never want to live any other way. And when you protect your peace long enough, it becomes your normal, not something you fight for, but something you live from. You stop seeing peace as the goal and begin to understand it as the foundation, the starting point from which real progress, growth, and joy begin. Peace is not a reward, it's a standard, and it's time you held yourself to it. Chapter 8. Speak with purpose and align actions with your words. Your words are not just sounds that pass through the air, they are signals. They reveal your thinking, shape your beliefs, and declare your intentions. When you speak, you are not simply filling silence, you are making a statement about who you are and what you stand for. But too often, people speak without clarity, without conviction, without understanding the impact their words carry. They talk to be heard, not to connect. They make promises they don't intend to keep. They offer opinions they haven't thought through. Over time, this weakens their character, confuses their relationships, and builds a life that feels disconnected and unsteady. There's a difference between speaking and speaking with purpose, and the gap between the two is where integrity is either built or broken. Every time you say something, you are creating a standard. You are setting an expectation for yourself and others. If you say you'll show up and don't, your reliability suffers. If you talk about values you don't live by, your credibility fades. If you give advice you never follow, your words lose weight. When your voice and your actions are out of sync, people begin to question your sincerity. But worse than that, you begin to question yourself. That's where doubt creeps in. That's where confidence starts to unravel. Because deep down, you know when your words are empty. You feel it when you speak with no follow-through. You carry the quiet discomfort of being out of alignment. Speaking with purpose is not about being perfect, it's about being real. It's about choosing words that match your beliefs and backing those words with action. It's about thinking before you speak and meaning what you say. This isn't about being cautious, it's about being intentional. You don't need to speak less. You need to speak with clarity. Clarity builds trust. It removes confusion. It gives your relationships direction. And when your words are consistent with your actions, you become someone people can count on. But more importantly, you become someone you can count on. It starts with honesty. If you don't know something, say so. If you're unsure, admit it. If you've changed your mind, explain why. There is strength in truth, and people respect what is real more than what is rehearsed. When you speak truthfully, even when it's uncomfortable, you create space for growth. You no longer have to manage appearances or maintain a version of yourself that isn't authentic. That kind of honesty frees you. It gives you the energy to focus on progress, not pretense. It helps you stay grounded in who you are, not just who you're trying to impress. But speech alone is never enough. If your words are not supported by behavior, they become meaningless. You can talk about discipline all day long, but if you keep making excuses, your voice loses strength. You can promise change, but if your actions stay the same, people stop listening. You can claim to value respect, but if you speak carelessly or act selfishly, your message becomes hollow. Alignment is the bridge between who you say you are and who you really are. Without it, you live divided. With it, you create a sense of harmony that can't be shaken by outside noise. Purposeful speech is also about restraint. Knowing when not to speak is just as powerful as knowing when to speak. There is wisdom in silence. Not every thought deserves a voice. Not every opinion needs to be shared. Some of the strongest individuals are not the ones who talk the most, but the ones who know how to listen. They speak when it matters. They choose their words with care. They are aware of how language can uplift or destroy, encourage or confuse, heal or harm. And because they understand that power, they use it with respect. You also speak with purpose by being intentional in your commitments. If you say you're going to do something, make sure you mean it. If you agree to a goal, pursue it with consistency. When you break a promise, even a small one, you chip away at your own sense of discipline. You create doubt about your ability to stay committed. But when you follow through, even in the smallest things, you strengthen your self-image. You begin to see yourself as someone who can be trusted by others and by yourself. This alignment doesn't require grand gestures. It happens in everyday choices. Saying you'll call and actually calling. Promising to be on time and showing up early. Expressing gratitude and living with humility. Talking about patience and practicing it in traffic, in conversations, in setbacks. These are the places where real integrity is built. These are the quiet tests that shape your character. And they add up. Over time, they create a life that feels steady, grounded, and real. When your words and actions work together, you feel stronger. You don't waste energy second-guessing yourself. You don't feel pulled in different directions. You don't live in contradiction. That kind of clarity gives you momentum. It sharpens your decisions. It strengthens your boundaries. It brings a sense of calm that can't be faked. And from that calm, you begin to speak differently. Not from a place of needing approval, but from a place of knowing who you are. Speaking with purpose also influences the way you lead, the way you inspire, the way you challenge others. When people hear you say something and see you live it out, your words carry real power. You no longer need to convince. Your life becomes the evidence. That's how change spreads. That's how trust grows. That's how impact multiplies. But if you speak one thing and live another, you lose that impact. You might impress people for a while, but that doesn't last. Eventually, the truth shows. The best way to lead is not by sounding strong, but by being consistent. Let your life match your message. Let your actions do the convincing. So begin now. Speak only what you mean. Promise only what you'll pursue. Share what reflects your values. And when you do speak, speak with depth, with thought, with direction. Let every word serve a purpose greater than your ego. Let every sentence bring you closer to alignment. The more you live this way, the less you'll feel scattered. The less you'll doubt yourself. The more you'll trust your own voice. And the more others will trust it too. A person who speaks with purpose and lives in alignment doesn't need applause to feel worthy. They don't need permission to move forward. They are at peace with their path because they walk it with intention. Let that be your aim. Not perfection, but integrity. Not performance, but truth. Not noise, but purpose. Your voice matters. Let it mean something. Let it reflect a life of direction, not distraction. And let your actions prove your words long after the words have faded. Chapter 9. Master your emotions by practicing calm in pressure. Emotions are powerful forces that can either serve as allies or become obstacles in our journey through life. When pressure mounts, whether from unexpected challenges, difficult conversations, or moments of uncertainty, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, reactive, or lost in the storm of feelings. But true strength doesn't come from avoiding emotions or suppressing them. It emerges from the ability to face them calmly and deliberately, even when everything inside urges you to react impulsively. Mastery over emotions begins with cultivating calm in the midst of pressure. When tension rises, the natural instinct is to respond immediately. Anger flares, anxiety spikes, or frustration takes over. These reactions often come from deep within, rooted in survival mechanisms designed to protect us in moments of danger. Yet in modern life, where threats are usually not physical but emotional or social, reacting impulsively can do more harm than good. Allowing emotions to control your actions rarely leads to clear decisions or peaceful resolutions. Instead, it creates chaos within yourself and your environment. Calmness is not about shutting down feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging what you're experiencing without being controlled by it. This awareness gives you a space, a pause where judgment can take over reaction. In that space, decisions become thoughtful instead of rushed. This is the skill of emotional mastery, creating a gap between stimulus and response, using that gap to choose a constructive path. Practicing calm begins with something as simple as your breath. When pressure builds, breathing often becomes shallow and erratic, fueling tension rather than releasing it. By intentionally slowing your breath and making it deeper, you send a message to your nervous system that it's safe to relax. This physiological shift can break the cycle of rising stress, giving you a moment to collect yourself. In that moment, you reclaim control. The body and mind are inseparable in how emotions manifest. Physical tension, tight shoulders, clenched jaw, rapid heartbeat can escalate mental turmoil. Recognizing these signs early is crucial. When you notice physical stress signals, deliberately loosening your muscles or adjusting your posture can ease mental strain. This physical grounding anchors you in reality and helps prevent emotions from spiraling. Emotional mastery also requires honest self-reflection. Pressure often exposes underlying beliefs and fears that fuel emotional reactions. Maybe it's a fear of failure, rejection, or loss. Maybe it's a deep-seated expectation that things should be different. Identifying these hidden triggers is uncomfortable but necessary. Once you understand the root cause, you gain power over the response. It's easier to remain calm when you know what is truly at stake. Building this awareness is a daily practice. It's not about waiting for crises to test you, but about cultivating habits that prepare you for those moments. Daily moments of quiet, whether through meditation, journaling, or simply sitting still, train your mind to observe thoughts and feelings without being swept away. This mental discipline strengthens your resilience so that when pressure comes, you meet it with clarity instead of chaos. Part of mastering emotions is also setting boundaries on what you allow to affect you. Not every situation deserves an emotional investment. Learning to discern where your energy is best spent saves strength for what truly matters. It means letting go of minor irritations, petty conflicts, or unnecessary drama. This doesn't imply indifference, but a wise allocation of emotional resources. Protecting your inner calm is an act of self-respect. When emotions threaten to overwhelm, reframing your perspective can help. Instead of seeing pressure as a threat, consider it a challenge or an opportunity to grow. This shift doesn't erase the difficulty, but it changes how you engage with it. Challenges become tests of character rather than sources of fear. Opportunities arise from struggle rather than from ease. This mindset doesn't make emotions disappear, but gives you a new way to navigate them. Emotional mastery isn't a destination, but an ongoing journey. There will be times when calm slips away and reactions take hold. What matters is how you recover and learn from those moments. Each experience becomes a lesson, a chance to refine your approach. Over time, you build confidence in your ability to remain steady amid uncertainty. It also requires patience with yourself. Emotions are deeply human, and self-judgment only adds fuel to the fire. Practicing compassion toward your emotional experiences opens space for healing. It reminds you that mastery is not about perfection, but about progress. It's about showing up for yourself consistently, even when the path is difficult. In relationships, mastering emotions under pressure transforms interactions. Instead of escalating conflicts or withdrawing in frustration, you create space for dialogue and understanding. Calmness invites others to lower their defenses and engage authentically. It models strength without aggression, presence without avoidance. This influence extends beyond individual moments and shapes the quality of your connections over time. The rewards of emotional mastery ripple throughout life. You make clearer decisions, respond thoughtfully to challenges, and maintain mental focus. Your energy shifts from reacting to creating. The inner peace that emerges is not fragile or fleeting. It's rooted in the discipline of self-awareness and the courage to face discomfort without losing yourself. Practice this daily. Pause before reacting. Notice what you feel, where you feel it, and what thoughts accompany it. Breathe deeply and choose your response with intention. Build rituals that ground you, moments of stillness, mindful observation, physical release. Set clear boundaries that protect your emotional space. Embrace the discomfort of growth and be patient with setbacks. Mastering emotions through calm in pressure is not a denial of human complexity, it's a declaration of strength. It's the commitment to lead yourself wisely, regardless of external storms. When you practice calm, you don't just survive pressure, you transform it into power. You become the steady force in your own life, capable of facing whatever comes with clarity, resilience, and grace. Chapter 10. Commit to growth by doing one hard thing daily. Growth is not a one-time event or a sudden breakthrough. It is a consistent commitment to push yourself beyond comfort each day. Choosing to face one hard thing daily builds a foundation of resilience and progress that compounds over time. This daily challenge creates a mindset that embraces discomfort as a sign of movement towards something better. Without this conscious effort, comfort traps you in routine and stagnation. Growth demands intention and action, even when it's difficult. Doing one hard thing daily means actively seeking the task or decision that tests your limits or breaks old patterns. It could be speaking up when silence feels easier, tackling a difficult conversation, pushing through physical fatigue to exercise, or learning something unfamiliar despite frustration. These choices are not about reckless risks, but deliberate steps outside your usual zone. The goal is to build strength through discomfort, knowing that growth thrives there. This practice reshapes how you view obstacles. Instead of avoiding what challenges you, you approach difficulty as an ally that refines character. Hard things expose weaknesses and blind spots, but they also reveal untapped potential. When faced consistently, these moments become opportunities to grow confidence, skill, and mental toughness. The more you do what's hard, the less intimidating challenges become. Starting with one hard thing daily creates a sustainable routine. It does not require overwhelming yourself with massive changes, but focuses on manageable, meaningful steps. Small, consistent actions compound into significant transformation. The key is consistency and intention. Without these, even the toughest efforts can fall short. Growth is a marathon, not a sprint, and this daily habit builds endurance. Facing difficulty regularly improves self-trust. Each completed challenge proves your capability to yourself. This builds confidence rooted in experience rather than fleeting motivation. When you consistently overcome resistance, you rewrite your inner narrative from doubt to determination. This new self-image empowers you to take on bigger goals and persist through setbacks. Committing to this habit demands clarity about what hard means for you. It's a personal measure, unique to your strengths and weaknesses. What is hard for one person might be comfortable for another. Defining your own hard thing requires honest self-awareness. This process itself encourages growth because it forces reflection on where you hold back or avoid effort. Implementing this habit also requires planning. Identify potential hard things ahead of time so you are prepared and less likely to avoid them. Setting clear intentions before the day begins frames your mindset. Preparing mentally increases the chances of following through when resistance arises. This preparation turns abstract growth into actionable steps. When the moment arrives, the choice to act often conflicts with comfort and fear. This is where discipline matters most. Growth comes from doing what you must, despite hesitation. Discipline is the muscle that supports consistency. Without it, motivation alone falters. Each time you choose action over avoidance, you strengthen your discipline and make the next challenge easier. Reflecting on your daily hard thing deepens its impact. At day's end, review what you faced and how you responded. Consider what you learned about yourself and what can improve. This reflection creates a feedback loop that refines your growth process. It turns experience into wisdom and increases your self-awareness. This habit influences all areas of life. It shapes how you respond to work pressures, relationships, health, and personal goals. Doing one hard thing daily builds emotional resilience by repeatedly proving that you can handle difficulty. It fosters a proactive approach rather than reactive survival. This mindset shift reduces anxiety about the unknown and prepares you for uncertainty with confidence. The cumulative effect of this commitment is a transformation in identity. Over time, you stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids difficulty and start identifying as a person who pursues growth relentlessly. This identity shift affects decision-making, priorities, and interactions with the world. It aligns your daily behavior with long-term vision and purpose. To maintain momentum, it's important to balance challenge with self-care. Growth through difficulty doesn't mean neglecting rest or ignoring limits. Sustainable progress respects the need for recovery and reflection. Listening to your body and mind prevents burnout and keeps growth positive rather than punishing. Accountability also enhances this process. Sharing your commitment with a trusted friend, mentor, or community creates support and external motivation. Others can encourage you, celebrate successes, and hold you responsible when resistance arises. This connection fosters discipline and deepens commitment. This practice requires patience. Growth is often invisible day to day. The discomfort you endure may feel endless or fruitless in the moment. Trusting the process means holding faith that these hard efforts accumulate into meaningful change. This trust builds with experience and perseverance. Embracing one hard thing daily invites you to live deliberately. It shifts life from passive routines to active creation. Each challenge becomes a stepping stone to greater strength, wisdom, and freedom. This daily commitment transforms small moments into a powerful journey of self-mastery. Ultimately, growth is not about perfection, but progress. It's about showing up consistently and pushing your boundaries bit by bit. Doing one hard thing daily is a simple but profound practice that shapes not just what you accomplish, but who you become. It builds a life marked by courage, resilience, and continuous improvement. This daily effort to confront difficulty molds a mindset that thrives regardless of circumstance and creates the foundation for lasting success.